Hello, hi, my name is Hannah and welcome to today's video. So as some of you may or may not know, I haven't been reading very much lately. Quite honestly, I think I've only read like a total of maybe 10 books in all of 2020. I know. Actually, I don't even know how many books it is. It might be less than 10. It might be more than 10. I have not been keeping track this year at all, and I've basically read nothing. But recently, I finished a couple of books, and it was really nice to kind of just be back in the mood of reading again. So I have just felt this motivation to continue reading, which is great. I'm glad I'm getting out of this reading slump. But whenever this happens, I like to put together a list, like a TBR, of books that I want to read because it helps motivate me to actually start reading them, and it helps me keep track of the books that I want to read. Do I ever stick to the TBR? No, but I still make it. So that is what I've done once again. And this specifically is a list of 10 kind of fall themed books, but mostly they're actually just all fantasy. I used to make videos every year with every season, like the top 10 books to read this fall or summer or spring, but I haven't made any videos like that for a long time. And since I've just been in the mood for reading again, I decided to make one this year because I really want to read these books. I don't think I'm gonna get through all of them because there are 10 books on this list, and like I said, I've only read about 10 books this whole year, so I don't know if I can get through 10 more in the next 2-3 months. But who knows, because sometimes I read 20 books in 1 month and then nothing for 6 months. We love an all or nothing mindset. But anyway, all that to say is that today I've put together a list of the top 10 fantasy books that I want to read this fall. Most of them feel like a very fall themed book to me. Not that there's any specific season in which you have to read things, but something about these books just feel really fall to me based on the synopsis or what I know about them, and they just seem like the perfect read for this fall. Fantasy is my favorite genre, as most of you probably know, so I can read it year round, but I love reading fantasy in fall, and now that it's fall again, I am in such a fantasy mood. So without any further ado, let's get into my top 10 fantasy books to read this fall. All right, first up on my list is a book that I have been saying I will read for over a year now, from before it first came out, because it was one of my most anticipated books of 2019, and I still haven't read it. I don't know what to tell you at this point, but that book is none other than The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I cannot tell you how many people have been begging me to read this. I can't tell you how badly I actually want to read it too, but I just haven't had the motivation to read. Hence why it is in this video. I feel like I get messages on a daily basis saying please read The Starless Sea, asking me to do a reading vlog for it, telling me that I'm gonna love it. And I already know I'm gonna love this book. And yes, I already planned a reading vlog when I read this book because I absolutely have to vlog my experience of it because I've been dying to read it for so long. So I'll definitely film a vlog while reading this book, so I promise you that will happen. But this book has to be probably number 1 on my list of books I want to read this fall because I just need to read it. I keep putting it off, and I know I keep putting it off because I have such high expectations, and I don't want to finish it and then not know what to do with myself afterwards, because that's what happened with Chain of Gold, and then I didn't read a book for months. But I just need to get over myself and just finally read it. But I'm so excited. I know I'm absolutely gonna love this. This is the second book by Erin Morgenstern. If you don't know, her first novel is The Night Circus, which is my favorite book of all time, probably. I don't know, I have a hard time saying that because now sometimes I say something is my favorite book or I just really love a book, and then people are like, no, that's Hannah's favorite book. I'm like, but I didn't for sure say that. I just said I really love it. So I don't know. But The Night Circus is definitely on the top of my list of all-time favorite books. One of my favorites ever. I love Erin Morgenstern's writing, so I know I'm really gonna love this book too. I know that this is fantasy. I don't really know anything else about it, honestly. I think there's a library involved. I don't really like knowing much. So I'm very excited to get into it, and I'm really hoping that I love it as much as I'm expecting to. Next up on my list, we have another book that I have been meaning to read for literally forever. I don't even remember when this came out at this point. I feel like it's been over 2 years. It's been so long. But that is this massive tome, Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. As you can see, this is huge. I've had this book for so long, and it's just intimidating to me. I lent it to one of my best friends, and he read it and he loved it so much, and he keeps begging me to read it. So I really do need to, and I know I'm really gonna enjoy it because it's fantasy with dragons. What more could you want? I love fantasy. I love dragons. Put those two things together, you have a recipe for a perfect book. And I'm pretty sure that my love interest is a lesbian. I know she's into women at least, so she might be bi or pan, don't know. But I know that it has queer rep in it, and I've just heard nothing but good things about it, and I'm really excited. I feel like it's going to be very intense to get through, but also a really exciting and different read, because I haven't read something that's this type of high fantasy in a really long time, and I feel like my soul just needs that. I really need that escapism right now. Next up on my list is a book that recently came out, actually. I think it just came out in September, yes. But it's a fantasy book that's been getting a lot of hype that I've just been hearing really good things about. Plus, when I read the synopsis, it just sounded so great. And it just sounds like a lot of fun and something I've been like missing in YA. And that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I'm pretty sure this also just hit the New York Times bestsellers list. It's been getting so much hype on BookTube. A lot of people have been really loving it. And even before I saw people talking about it, I'd read the synopsis and it sounded really good. I even started reading it. I've read like the first 3 chapters of this so far, and it's actually really good, and I'm excited to keep going. So I'm very, very intrigued by this. I feel like it's gonna be such a fun story. This book is about this teenage girl named Bree whose mother dies in an accident, and then she finds out about this like secret society that's at UNC Chapel Hill, I think the like university she wants to go to, and she finds out about this secret society called Legendborn, and then they try to like, I think they try and wipe her memory or something of like the magical abilities that she has that she didn't know about, and she's like trying to figure out what happened to her mother. And there is something about like, 1, the synopsis of this, and 2, the first few chapters that I read that just feels like the books that I loved when I was like 12 or 13 in middle school, reading like the Infernal Devices and the Hunger Games and stuff for the first time. There's something about the way this is written that gives me like those mid 2000s, early 2010 YA fiction vibes. And wow, I like need this. It also has like the dark academia part to it, since there's like a secret society and a university. So it seems really fun. I'm very excited to keep going. I feel like I'm really gonna like this one, and it might end up being like a new YA fantasy favorite. Don't quote me, I don't know yet since I've only read like the first few chapters, but I'm still very excited to read it. So yeah, I'm hoping to pick this one up pretty soon too, and hopefully get through it at some point this fall, because I feel like I'm really just gonna enjoy this. All right, the next book on my list is one that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and people have been recommending it to me for a long time. I still don't own a copy of it. I almost bought one like a few years ago and then decided not to, and now I'm regretting it because I think it was like some special edition that is now like sold for hundreds of dollars on Abe Books, which is tragic. But that book is City of Brass. This is the first book in a fantasy trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. I think the last book just came out, or it's about to come out. I'm not positive because I haven't kept up, but I have heard nothing but good things about this series for years. I genuinely don't know anything about it other than I believe it's adult fantasy, and I think it's based off of like Middle Eastern fantasy and mythology and stuff. So like sign me up. I am so excited. Like I think there are like demons and jinn and like just so much great stuff that I'm so excited for, because I love when there's Middle Eastern fantasy, and there are so few that I have found. Like the Ember and the Ashes series is one of the only ones where like I've seen any of that, and that's one of the reasons I love that series so much. So I'm so excited to find another series that has like Middle Eastern fantasy and like mythology in it. So I feel like I'm gonna love this. I feel like it's been really hyped up, so I am worried that I might not love it as much as some people do. But most people who have recommended it to me have very similar taste to me, so I'm pretty sure that I'll actually enjoy this one. Like something set in an ancient Middle Eastern setting, plus like a secret city. What more could I want, honestly? Maybe there are dragons. If there are dragons, then it's perfect. All right, so earlier when I said that The Starless Sea was the book that I was gonna read next, that was actually probably a lie, because this is the book I'm gonna read next, because I've already started reading it and I've already started filming a vlog for it. So this will be the one that I read next. But that book is none other than The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which by the time you see this video, it may or may not be out. I'm not positive when I'm uploading this, so we'll see, but it comes out like in a couple days, if it's not out yet. This book is one of my most anticipated books of 2020. Honestly, one of the only books I was actually excited for, one of the only things I've been excited for this whole year. But this is of course by V.E. Schwab, one of my all-time favorite authors, and you all know how much I love V.E. Schwab books, and I cannot express how excited I am for this book specifically, because she teased it like a few years ago. I want to say like 4 years ago or something. I don't know. She mentioned that she had some like love story about a girl who makes a deal with the devil, and that it was going to be like a romance. Like there's romance involved in this, and if you don't know, if you don't read a lot of Victoria Schwab, she really doesn't have romance in her books. They're just like subtle hints to things, but there's never like a full-on romance. But there's romance in this one, and I'm so excited. I have already started reading it, just like the first 10-15 pages. I have not made that much progress, but I do love it so far. I have a feeling this is gonna be one of my like all-time favorites. Probably, I don't want to say this, but it like might end up being my all-time favorite Victoria Schwab book. This is like presumptuous, but like I know my taste, so I have a feeling I'm really gonna like it. But yeah, don't really know anything about it other than what I read at the beginning, but it's about this girl named Addie LaRue who every person who meets her like forgets her instantly. They just like never remember her until one day she comes across somebody who actually remembers her name. And yeah, that's basically what it's about. I'm so excited to continue reading it. Yes, I'm filming a reading vlog for it, so you can expect a reading vlog for this book if that's something that you were excited for. Hopefully it is. But yeah, I just know I'm gonna love this book. I know it's gonna end up being one of my favorites, and I can't wait to just sob my way through this entire book. Maybe this will be the first thing to actually make me feel something in like months. All right, the next book on my list is another one that I don't own yet, but it's one that I've been hearing like hyped up everywhere for several years now. I think it's been out for a couple of years, and it is supposed to be getting a TV adaptation soon. But that book is Jade City by Fonda Lee. So all I really know about this is that it's an Asian fantasy about these 4 siblings who have to like battle rival clans or something like that. So there's clan rivalry, fantasy, magic. I just feel like I'm really gonna like it, and it sounds wonderful. It has great reviews. Like I mentioned, it's getting a, I think, TV or movie adaptation, some kind of adaptation. A lot of people really like this book. It sounds like something I'm really gonna like. If you couldn't tell from this video, I'm just really trying to find new fantasy to love because I feel like it's been so long since I found a fantasy book that I'm deeply, deeply in love with. So yeah, I just like need some more fantasy. So I'm trying to read all of the things that people have recommended to me that I have a feeling that I will like too. So yeah, this is definitely one of those books on that list. And again, like I mentioned, it's getting an adaptation soon, and I definitely want to read it before the adaptation comes out. So I'm really excited to check this one out. All right, the next book on my list is one that I've been meaning to read for so long, since the beginning of this year when the book came out, and I didn't read it, still haven't read it. I know, you can shame me. But that book is King of Crows, the 4th book in the Diviners series. I still don't have a copy of King of Crows. I have it on audiobook though, so I'm gonna listen to the audiobook. But King of Crows is the final book in the Diviners series, one of my favorite YA series of all time. I think it's wonderful, so good. It's like urban paranormal fantasy. Highly recommend. You should read it. Oh, historical too, because it's set in the 1920s. What more could you want, honestly? It's missing dragons. Everything's missing dragons though. But yeah, basically it's just the last book in this series. I think the reason I keep putting it off is that like, I feel like I need to reread the whole series before I read King of Crows because I don't remember enough from this series because it's been like 2 years since I've read all of these. So yeah, I might just watch like some people's reviews or like read a summary of these books because I don't remember enough of like the details. I remember the major plot points, but not the details, and I feel like I need that for the finale of the series. I'll do that, I'll do it, I promise, and then I'll listen to the audiobook for King of Crows because I know I'm really gonna like it. I know at least it's gonna be like a fun time, even if it makes me sob, which I expect it to. All right, so the next book on my list is another one that I've been meaning to read since the beginning of the year, or maybe the end of last year. End of last year. Still haven't read it. Can you sense a theme in this video? But that book is none other than Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi, the 2nd book in the Children of Blood and Bone series. Forgot the title. I read the 1st book when it first came out and I really, really loved it, and I know that I'm really gonna enjoy this one as well. So I just need to get around to it. It's such an epic fantasy story inspired by West African mythology, and it's just wonderful. The characters are great. The romance is heart-wrenching. It's just like very angsty and like what I love to read when I want something angsty. The fantasy aspects of it are great as well. The cliffhanger at the end of the last book was a lot, so I definitely need to get around to this one. So yeah, hopefully I finally read this soon. Hopefully I read it this fall. Someone please yell at me to read these books, honestly. So the next book on my list is The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. And this is actually another book that everybody, and I mean like everybody, keeps recommending to me, and they have for years. I feel like this was one of the first books that I was recommended a ton when I first joined BookTube, and I still haven't read it. I have read, I think, 2 of N.K. Jemisin's other books. I actually DNF'd both of them. I didn't like them, which is really sad, I know, but one of them was more like sci-fi, which is definitely not my thing, and the other one, I don't know if it was just the book itself or if I just like wasn't in the place to read it at the time, so that's why I didn't like it, but I just DNF'd that one as well, like halfway through. But I have a feeling that the 5th season, 3rd time's a charm, you know, like 5th season might actually be a book I end up really loving. I know this book has won a ton of awards. I know it's super well loved. It's recommended to me, like I mentioned, by people here on BookTube all the time, and also a lot of my friends in real life. So I know that like I'll probably like it because people I trust are recommending it to me too. So I do really want to read this one. Of all the books on this list, actually, I know the least about this one. I literally do not know what it's about. Let's look it up because I'm actually kind of curious because it's been so long. Also, maybe knowing what it's about will actually make me want to read it sooner. That might be a thing. Maybe that's why I put books off. Okay, I'm just gonna read the synopsis to you. It says, "This is the way the world ends, for the last time. It starts with a great red rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that bolts out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land long familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and where there is no mercy." Okay. Now I want to read it like today. Why didn't I read this summary sooner? I feel like I read this at some point because it feels familiar, but I read it like years ago. That's one of the best book summaries I've ever read. It leaves so much to the imagination, which is what I like because I don't like knowing the actual plot, but it's super intriguing. Like I need to know. I need to know what's gonna happen. What is the stillness? I wanna know what the stillness is. I might read this really soon. But anyway, yeah, that's the 5th season. I've heard so many good things about it. Like I mentioned, it's won countless awards. It's considered like one of the best fantasy novels of our time. It's like science fiction fantasy, I think. I definitely want to read it after reading that synopsis. All right, and we are finally on to the very last book on my list, and that is another book that I still don't have, but has been recommended to me countless times and talked about all over the internet, especially lately, because I think the last book is coming out soon. So I'm probably gonna wait for the last book to come out so I can just marathon the trilogy. But that is none other than The Poppy War. The Poppy War is a book that I heard about when it first came out, and it was on my TBR. I feel like I mentioned it in a video at least once. I know that it was definitely like on my list of books I wanted to read at some point, and it was high up there, but then, you know, life happens and I just never got around to reading it, and now the last book is on its way out. So I definitely do want to read it now because I just keep hearing such great things about it. It's apparently like a very epic fantasy with like a lot of violence, apparently lots of content, warnings that you should be aware of. I don't know of them personally, but I'll definitely be sure to like leave some of them listed in the description box if you're interested in checking this book out too. But I've been told to just be like wary before going into this book because it's violent and gruesome and intense. But I've also heard that I will cry my eyes out and that I will absolutely love it. So I definitely want to read this book. All I really know about it is that it's based off of like a lot of Chinese history. I think it has a lot of like the history wrapped up into the story, as well as it's like fantasy and mythology and stuff. So it seems like it's just going to be like very intense, very political fantasy, which is what I really like. So I feel like I'm really gonna like this. I feel like it's gonna break me apart, which is what I want. So can't wait to read this and actually feel something. Yeah, the plot involves a lot of politics from mid 20th century China. So yeah, I know that that's like a big part of the actual story and like you need that context to understand it fully. So I feel like it's just going to be a really, really great fantasy novel, something different from anything I've read, which is something I always look forward to in fantasy novels. So yeah, I just feel like I'm really gonna like this. I might vlog reading this one too. I kind of just want to vlog reading all of these. I really just feel like filming reading vlogs, but I don't really feel like reading, so that's kind of a problem. But there you all have it. That is it for my list of top 10 fantasy books to read this fall. I'm so excited to get started reading these. I hopefully will get through as many of them as possible. I honestly don't think I'll be able to read all of them this fall, but these are the reading plans I do have for the fall. I really don't plan on reading anything that isn't one of these books, honestly. Like probably something will pop up because as we all know, I'm a mood reader and I can't stick to a single like list that I make. But these are still the plans that I have for now. I will update you all as I continue to read. I really haven't been using Goodreads at all. I haven't updated it in months, honestly. So I should probably get to using that again, but honestly, I'm not really the biggest fan of Goodreads. So I might end up switching to like Storygraph or Booksloth or something since I've checked both of those out a bit. But nonetheless, I'll still update you on my reading in my videos at least. So you'll be updated here for sure. Or on my Instagram, like maybe I'll just do weekly, monthly updates depending on how much I read. So if you want to check out the books that I'm reading, be sure to follow me on my Instagram or my Twitter, which are all linked in the description as always. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have any books that you're planning on reading this fall, specifically fantasy books or other books as well, please do let me know in the comments down below. I'd be very excited to see what you're reading. Also, if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please let me know any of your thoughts on them as well. Which ones do you think I should get to first? Which ones do you think I'll like the most? I'm curious. But like I mentioned, if you'd like to follow me on any of my social media, all my links are in the description box as always. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!